Hi, I'm Mark Neal, and this month I have the privilege to talk to Eric Marsh. Now, Eric has worked on staff at Grace Long Beach Church in California since 1997. He has also held various positions over the past 14 years, but has spent most of the past 8 years developing and directing Hope for Long Beach, which is an organization that pursues the flourishing of the city. During that time, he developed a citywide network of more than 75 churches. Welcome, Eric.
Thanks, Mark.
Now, this month, we want to take a look at what it means to be a multiplying church in a global world, and this idea that the goal of church planting shouldn't be to start a church, but to start church starting churches. So,
Yeah,
can you talk about the characteristics that need to be present in a multiplying, or what we would call a church starting church?
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I've observed a lot of churches spend a lot of energy trying to plant one church in 5 years. One of the images that I've heard him talk about, and I really like, is starting not exuding all of our energy towards starting to build a car, but to ultimately build a factory that can produce many cars. Kind of a movement towards exponential replication rather than just one at a time.
Right.
The church that I've seen that does that the best, and in our area, certainly in Long Beach, has done that the best, is a church called Light and Life North. And some of the things that I've seen them do very well. They've planted almost 10 churches in the last 10 years, which for this neck of the woods in California is quite a few.
Sure.
They planted a lot of other churches in other parts of the world, but locally they've planted 10 churches. And I think that the thing that really is encouraging about their leadership is they talk about this image of a river. They talk about the idea that they've received these resources to steward these resources for this specific time, and that like a river, they have the water as it goes through them. It doesn't stay in a pond.
Right.
And I love these ideas. And I think one of the things that has been really crucial for their success in being a church planting church is they a couple things. One, they're really excited about everybody who has the vision or the idea to want to be a church planter. So Larry's failed with a lot of guys, and I think most of us, not only has he failed with a lot of guys, he's succeeded with many. But it takes, you gotta have the willingness to not succeed in order to see success.
Right.
And so I think Larry has, even by his own admission, he said, the senior pastor Larry Walkemeyer, who's on our board here in Long Beach, he's made some mistakes. But as I think back over the last 10 years, since 2001, so 12 years ago now, they've planted all these churches, and most of the churches in our city have planted none. And so as he would lament these mistakes, or as he'd lament the cost to the congregation, the rest of us were quietly jealous because he's actually set up a system. So that's number one. He's willing and he's excited to help the planner who's coming in pursue their dream.
Right.
The second thing is they have a system, an expectation that movement and almost a skunk works like project is going on at every moment of every day on their campus.
Right.
So I think at this point right now, there's at least 3 works being germinated. So they've created a culture where these 3 church planners have come in. Last year I think it was 4 or 5, and the church expects to have that happen. So number one, it being a river and being willing to have failure, and then number 2, the idea that there is the church expects it. Right. And it just changes. You don't come to necessarily stay at Light and Life. You come to go.
Okay. Now, there's a term called eclecticity that is one of the key factors in multiplying churches that speaks to the diversity of the body of Christ. So why is this eclecticity a vital part of the church starting church? And can you give maybe an example of this from your own work with Grace Long Beach?
Yeah, no, I think, I give you several examples. It's very real for us here in Long Beach because we're one of the most diverse cities in the United States. My kids go to an elementary school that is the most diverse elementary school in all of LA County. And so to have churches that represent the various cultures, not only in Long Beach, but because we're so diverse, they're really the world. The world is here in the South Bay of Los Angeles County. And so if we're not planting churches that represent the not only the Latino, the Anglo, the African American, and the Asian populations, but the segments within those populations, the cultures within the Asian population. There's probably 12 to 15 different varieties of Asian students at my kids' school. If we're not planting churches that are friendly to that culture that's emerging, which those kids are growing up expecting to be in relationships with kids from various cultures. There's probably 20 cultures in my son's third grade class. If we're not planning churches to reach this multicultural group, not multicultural as an end, but rather that is a missiological decision, then we're going to fail. So in our own culture, here at Grace Long Beach, we've seen the generation that I'm in, so I'm 40, but probably I'd say the 25 to 40 crowd is becoming far more diverse. So it's not, and it's been a slow and intentional decision to become more diverse. And in doing that, it's happened in a couple of ways. One, it's happened because we've spoken differently about the kind of church that we want to become. We want to be a church that cares for the city. And that kind of language of mercy and justice, that kind of language of saying we want to pursue the flourishing of the city has been very attractive to a wide variety of people, number one. Number two, my generation is marrying, whites are not just marrying whites. And so you have the very necessity as the country's becoming more eclectic, we've got to have churches for that. Right. That's number one. Number two, I think it's one of the ideas that Bob talks about regarding this idea of eclecticity, I can't even say the word, but it is generational diversity. And one of the things I love about our congregation is it's 4.5 generations. And that's not easy. Music obviously is tough, but then there's other issues that you have with regards to generational diversity. And the churches that we're planning, often they'll do one or the other well. They'll do generational or they'll do multicultural. But the churches that we're trying to plant here in Long Beach would do both.
Right. Thanks so much for taking a few minutes to chat, Eric.
Thanks so much, Mark. Have a good day.